Today we're fired up to have special guests, current world champion bull rider Josh and Joe Frost. Josh is on the top of the rodeo world and Joe is still influencing the great up-and-coming cowboys today. He's giving us an inside look at what it takes to become a world champion and balance home and ranch life. How's it going?
Pretty good. Glad to be here.
Glad to be here again.
Yeah, it's good to have Joe back on.
Josh, you guys are firing up a bull riding school lately. You want to tell us a little bit about what you got going on?
Yeah, I've been doing bull riding school since after the first year I went to the NFR, 2015, and I've done about one a year through the rest of my career. And then after I quit riding bulls, I had a couple parents call. Their kids were struggling at the Junior Rodeo Association, and so they started coming down, and pretty quick I started hauling calves to the junior rodeos, and over the course of about 2 years, it ended up being a deal where I had 3 schools, and I was had 90 kids at those schools, and then around 30 a week coming for practice, and it's blown up to the point that now I'm traveling. I'm going somewhere almost every other weekend for most of the year doing a school outside, and then we'll have about 5 or 6 schools here at our facility. We got more bucking bulls than you can shake a stick at, and it's and it's something that's what we're doing is something new in our world. There's always been bull riding schools. Like, you could go to a bull riding school for 2 or 3 days, and then you could maybe go again to that same school the next year. You could go to someone else's. But what we're doing is trying to create a program like in any other sport. You could go sign your kid up for Little League football or wrestling or whatever, or sign them up for karate, and they can go get their white belt and then their yellow belt and work their way up to a black belt. Well, that hasn't been done in bull riding. Basically all the great riders over time have had a dad or an uncle or someone close to them that's brought them up through all the phases of becoming a bull rider. And what we're doing is creating a program with our online school and our elite membership to where we're actually working with guys, not just when they come here for 3 days, but we're working with them all year long so that they can continue to progress and stay on the right path to be successful.
Yeah, and that is super cool. And you see some high school riders right now that are going through Frost Legacy, and the changes in them has been amazing.
Well, I say there's 3 things I'm excited for, or there's 3 guys that I'm excited for. And first, because they're going to hit the pros first, are the 16 and 17-year-old kids I've got right now that started here 4 years ago. They came in, and they didn't have too much bad repetition. I was able to make an influence and get them on the right path to being successful, and they still got like 1 or 2 more years left in high school. So by the time they're 18, they're going to be able to hit the road and go and actually be successful. I'm excited for that guy, and then I'm really excited for the kids that I've got that are 8, 9 years old, that they don't have any other experience. They've only came here, and so I've been able to influence them all the way around, mentally, physically, emotionally, to get them, and by the time they get to the pros, they're going to have 13 years of repetition, and they've only ever going to have had what they needed when they needed it. And like, those are the ones. I mean, we're working right now to get better junior high stock, because what we've had in the past, all these junior high kids are so far behind that they're just riding beef steers or Coriini steers. And now we're breeding some of our better bucking bulls to like our yearling heifers, our replacement heifers, as a cleanup bull on the AI. So we'll have some half-blood bucking steers that'll never outgrow the junior high kids, but they'll buck like a bull, but they won't have the power, so that we can help transition them to where they're riding pro bulls basically when they're 15, 16 years old, because they'll be ready for it, because they've actually been prepared. And so that's the second one I'm excited for. And the third one I'm excited for is there's going to be somebody that shows up here between the age of 18 and 25 that actually is willing to make all the sacrifices that I suggest to them that they need to make it, and they're going to make the NFR or the PBR finals when they're 25, 26 years old.
That's amazing. And the proof's in the pudding with you guys. Obviously, like, they're learning from greats, which I think is really cool, because if you want to be the best, you got to go to the best, and they're at the right spot when they end up here at Frost Legacy, that's for sure.
Well, and that's the cool part about, I guess our program, Joe hit on it, saying developing a program is we both learned how to ride bulls like anybody else, prior to now that was successful. Our dad was a bull rider, and so bull riding is relatively basic, but, we were stick your chest out, squeeze your legs, and lift on your rope. And through trial and error and talking to other people, we, honed our craft, and Joe was still getting better when he retired. And then in that period of my career taking off and me starting to have success was about the time that Joe had started coaching. And so now all of a sudden he's as invested into teaching kids how to ride bulls as he was to his bull riding career back when that was, he used to wake up and think about riding bulls. Now he wakes up every day and thinks about how can I make other people good at riding bulls. And so in the course of this process, I'm in the hunt to go be a world champion. And so I've kind of been the test dummy of, the things Joe's teaching, the things I'm doing, making critiques in my riding. And, when we've picked anybody that we've been able to talk to, we've picked their brains about bull riding and how they ride bulls. And Joe's picked people's brains about how they teach bull riding. And through the course of that, like we've got her honed in pretty good now to where, Joe had kind of hit on it about not having any bad habits. Is there's some of these 16, 17-year-old kids that, like, I'm halfway wanting to watch their videos on their technique, because I rode for so long not necessarily using the right technique. Like, you can get a long ways in bull riding with just pure effort, grit, and determination. And I still have a lot of that comes out. And the problem is it works a decent amount of the time. And so it's hard to, completely reinvent yourself when what you're doing, you're already winning money. And so it's been fun having Joe in my corner and seeing the stuff that we've been doing at the house, or the stuff we've been training these kids to do. All of that's came from trying to get me to be a better bull rider, get me to be the world champion. And, through the course of that, we've changed my riding to where I, from a technical standpoint, I'm definitely getting closer to what we would call picture perfect. I'm still, like I said, a lot of times don't always do it as good as I'd like, but we're constantly working at that. But it's so cool seeing the kids that have been with Joe for 3-4 years that didn't have 15 years of bad habits or things that they were super drilled into their mind. Like said, they're 16 years old riding my practice bulls like they were easy. And when me and Joe, like when I was 16 years old, like I couldn't stay on the bulls they're staying on. Like it's cool to see how, and that's the program. And we're, that's the word that we're, I guess, really adding in that bull riding's never had. It is the fact that there is a specific method, and you do these things, you're going to have success, and this is what you need to do to be successful in the sport. Whereas before it was, you said, you go to a bull riding school, and
most of the time what they tell you, the way bull riding's been coached, is, well, you got to do this, just figure it out.
Bull riding's such a feel thing. Like it's at the end of the day, and that's what all the greats, you got to feel it. You just got to get on more bulls. Once you've got on 100 head, it'll slow down. And it's like, well, that's part of the reason there's not, there's very few. That's the hard part, is most of the time them 16-year-old kids that want to get into the sport, by the time they've got on 100 to figure it out, they've already got killed off. We've always said, like, it's easier to learn from if you start as a 6-7-year-old kid. Now you're learning the basics, or we're teaching a program to where we can teach the basics to anybody, but the way it used to be was them were the ones that were successful because they had been on 1,000 head from 6 years old to 15 years old, and so they were able to figure it out and get the feel on cattle that weren't dangerous. When a Holstein calf steps on a kid, it hurts, but it doesn't break. When you're 17, 18 years old, the only thing you can really learn how to do it on is cows and bulls, and especially if you want to compete. Like, if you're 17, 18, never been on, we're going to make you get on cows. But if you want to go to a competition, you're going to be getting on bulls. And there's very, very few of them kids that start at that age that can get through the 100 head,
That learning curve.
the learning curve without getting hurt. And
burning them out.
yeah,
Which
to,
is
to get the feel. All the coaches or past bull rider, you got to get the feel. You just got to get on more. Well, it's kind of hard to get the feel when it's dangerous.
Well, what's awesome about everything you're saying there is having a great big long conversation with Joe just a little while ago about Stockdogs, which I'm going to return it around to dogs just because that's what our podcast is. But literally, Joe's sitting there talking about, well, we got this dog that we're going to put this foundation on. That way, we take him from small pens that he can handle, and then move him to another area that he can handle, and then move him to another area that he can handle. That way the dog's confidence grows, and everything you just said. You're doing the same dang thing with kids and bulls and everything else. You start at that lower level, and you have this basic foundation, and then they can just move to greatness after that, and it's really amazing.
Well, and it's funny, Joe kind of missed on it when you guys had asked him how he'd got into coaching bull riding. The whole deal started from him training dogs. He was needing cattle to work his dogs on, and when you're training those dogs, it can be a little hard on the cattle. And so Dad was getting mad at Joe, not wanting him to use. My dad really loves his cattle, and you don't do anything to stress him out. And so through the process of that, somehow Joe got hooked up with the Junior Rodeo Association. And so the deal was they were going to send their cattle to Joe. He could train his dogs on the cattle. But the deal was there was a couple of the dads whose sons wanted bull riding, learned how to ride bulls. So literally started with Joe training his dogs on the cattle, and it was having 3 kids show up. Pretty quick, those 3 kids start winning. Well, wasn't long. The next summer this is going on, there's 10 kids showing up. And in that process, I'm roping calves, trying to ride bulls. My wife's a breakaway roper, and this is all happening at our arena. So pretty quick, Joe's building a facility.
With 2 bucking chutes. It was way too much.
That spurred the, hey, Joe, we're glad you're helping these kids, but, this is also, we can't wait for 3 hours for you to buck for my wife to breakaway rope. She's got to go to work or go somewhere else after that.
Yep.
Chance knows, he helped me finish pounding the posts on this arena when I thought I was building the only thing we'd ever need is a pen to work dogs in, wire paneled and T-posts, and it, in about the course of 3 months, it revolutionized into a bull rider training facility.
Yep, and every year it seems like it gets added onto until it's got lights and the whole shebang now. It's fancy.
It is. It's an awesome setup, and that is one thing that I think a lot of people are missing in this, like you said, about hopping on and getting in. That's the old days. It's like training dogs, horses, or anything. There's the old days, and I think what you said about you guys being the first of your kind to break through, because what I see when you're watching TV, there's a lot of good bull riders, but the bulls are getting better than the cowboys are staying about here, and the bulls, the breeding genetic programs and stuff is getting unbelievable, and I think you guys are raising the greats.
That's where I would say we're definitely the first. For one, we're set up for it because of, like I said, our dad helps us a bunch. We got lots of land. We put up a lot of hay, but there isn't any, everybody always preaches in the bull riding game, you need to ride jump kickers. You need to get on more jump kickers. The problem is there's no jump kickers out there, because if they don't buck, they get sold. And so the only jump kickers you see is borderline what we would call a piece of shit. That there's a difference between a jump kicking bull and a bull that's just running off out there bellering and chasing his tail. And I would say we're definitely the first people that are, and this has just started within the last year or two, but we are intentionally trying to raise jump kickers. We want the stuff that everybody used to sell, we want to raise them, and we're going to feed them, and we're going to train.
Well, and for the audience, we talk about a jump kicker. It in the stock dog world, it'd be like you're training stock. You don't. We take that dog to sheep, and then we take it to calves, which are generally some sort of a dairy calf that's not as athletic. In bull riding, everything relates back. The fundamentals all relate back to how well you manage the jump and kick. That's the up and down and the forward movement. And so that, until you can do it on a drop barrel, if you can't do it on the drop barrel, you ain't going to do it on a live animal. And until you can do it on that cow that is jumping 6 inches off the ground and kicking 6 inches off the ground and just moving in a straightforward motion, you're not going to do it on the bull with more power that's doing the same thing, or the next level up that's jumping 2 feet in the air and kicking 3 feet.
In general, the way most bull riders have learned in the past, it'd be to put it to training dogs. It would be like trying to train your dog on pairs.
Be like be like the way we trained Brick.
Yeah.
Like,
go out in the field
and you
and
go
say
out there
yeehaw.
and your dog gets ran over, and you know what you do the next day? You come out and you send him right back there on those pairs, and you're pissed off that he's not getting trained, and he's still just getting ran over. That's how bull riders have been taught in the past.
Ran over or ran off because you start developing self-preservation
Yep.
more than, how do I get away from this safely versus how do I actually ride the bull?
Well, and it's funny because I'm just going to toot my own horn on Brick, and Fred, the way they went through their training, thank God they were the dog they was that took that training and took that rough times and hard cows and still wanted to show up every day. Same goes with you two. I've seen some training videos when you guys were like 6 and 7 years old. It was rough duty. It was in a dang wire pen with some panels put up around it, 2 chutes, and Shane letting you know what you done wrong and better get it right. And we're not here to play around. We are here to do this. And I know you guys is probably getting on stuff a little bigger than what you should have at some point.
We thought, my dad did the best he could. He was he did.
Yeah, very dedicated to it.
To take care of us and get us on the proper stock, but also there's not access to proper stock. Our proper stock is we'd go to the sell barn on Saturday, and anything that was gentle that looked like a bucking bull, we would buy it and we'd come home and we'd buck it. We got on some dumb stuff. This was all without bullfighters.
Yeah.
And like I said, I watched my videos of it was always kind of a joke, not necessarily a joke, it was the truth. Joe was always way better at riding bulls than me. Growing up, I never seen him fall off in the practice pen. And I did. I don't know why I ended up being a bull rider. I guess I was just too stubborn to give up on it. But like I said, we've got hundreds of videos of me just getting mucked out. And I used to hate it. I loved the rodeo. There was the adrenaline. People were watching, and I'd ride good. But our dad was very, he's like, we're not going to the rodeo if you don't practice. And so I dreaded it because I was going to get wrecked out. I did all the time, but it all worked out.
But you take into consideration, we never had a drop barrel. I had never been on a drop barrel till after I went to my first NFR.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we didn't know. I thought I invented the stationary barrel out there in the backyard. I went and put my rope on the propane tank. Yep. This is when I was in high school, and I got out there, and I just started visualizing. I thought I was inventing this stuff. I didn't know that it was kind of a thing. But with what we're doing now, and I'm seeing it at every age level that we work with, but the way we're teaching them how to ride these drop barrels, it's actually translating to it. They're getting in repetition. And the thing about it is we were able to make it without having that because we were able to get on so many head of calves, steers, cows, bulls. We had a lot of riding time. And not only that, we were out on a horseback sorting pairs. We were horseback most of the days of our life growing up. So that's all riding time. Okay, most of these kids, they live in town. Okay, so how do I help this kid? He don't have a horse. He don't have calves in the backyard. He's only going to be getting on 4 head of practice calves here on a Tuesday, and he's going to 1 or 2 rodeos. So he's getting on 6 a week, and that's only from June through August. And then they take the winter off and come back again and do it the next year. Okay, so his riding time, for $1,500, he can buy a drop barrel and put it in the garage. And if he is doing it, and if I can get his parent, the mom or the dad, taught what it's supposed to look like so they can help coach him, or they're working with us on the elite membership, we can keep making corrections on them, and they'll actually get repetition. This barrel don't feel like a bull. It feels kind of like one, but it ain't, there's no forward movement. So you can do a lot of things on that. It don't buck nobody off, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But if you learn how to ride it properly, you can actually get quality repetitions in that'll translate to their riding.
Yep, and that is that's cool. And for people that haven't seen a drop barrel before, I'm going to get a video of Chance before we leave here today, and he's going to hop on the drop barrel, and I think someone will get bucked off.
Yeah, everybody
So
wants
he'll be the
fat kid get on the drop
first
barrel.
person to ever get bucked off. But I do love how passionate you guys are about this, and that's why I know you're passionate about bull riding and how much you care about these kids. You want to see them succeed, and I think it's not like I think there's some people out there in any industry that go for the money grab. Like, I'll keep coming back, but I can tell you guys genuinely care and you want these kids to go on and be world champions. And I think that's why the kids that you have got, you hear your name mentioned on high school rodeos a lot right now. These kids coming up, they're part of the Frost legacy. And you said elite membership, and I don't know what that is. If you explain that.
So we have an online school, and our online school is basically it's a collection, it's a library of videos, all the training videos. You know, it could take you, for you, a beginner, say you wanted to ride. Well, it has all the videos on how to get your equipment.
The goal with it was if you'd never been on a bull before, you could buy this, and when you got done with it, you would have the tools to go be a world champion.
You could go through the process, or if you were just an intermediate or whatever, you could jump in and get on the program, and then so you can upgrade from that. That's right now we're selling that for $397, one-time purchase. You have it the rest of your life. Then the elite membership's $37 a month. For $37 a month, we review your videos. It's in a private Facebook group. We review videos for you weekly, and then we do one Zoom call with anyone in the group can hop on the Zoom call. We usually talk for an hour and a half. It's great conversation. We get into a lot of the mental side of things, and we've got kids. We don't have a lot in that group, but the guys that are in there are taking advantage of it, and they're progressing. But it's like any other sport. You sign your kid up for football. What if he just went to a 3-day school one time and then showed up at the game?
Yeah, it's not good.
How well would he do?
Yeah.
He wouldn't even know the freaking plays.
Yep.
That's the way bull riding has been.
Yep.
You're only working with your coach for 3 days, and that's where we're trying to transition this to, just like any other sport. And you go to football, if you can't even do your stuff at practice, you ain't getting off the bench. If you don't show up to practice and do your job, and bull riding, it's just anybody do it. Anybody can go. Anybody can be pro.
Well, it's like I said, we will let anybody do it. You guys could send in your money to the PRCA or PBR and be entered in an event in 2 weeks. Like, that's how simple it is to be a professional bull rider.
Yep.
But it's
To be
Donate
professional
your
and make
money a
money.
little bit.
Oh yeah, to be considered a professional, like for our sport, to be what we consider a professional is you are a PBR or in the PRCA. Like, that's the professional level. And
You buy your card.
all you got to
enter
do
up,
is send. Like,
show
there's
up.
no judgment or requirement. Like, it's buy your card and you can enter your first event, and you could never been on a bull before, and they'd let you get on the rankest bull in the world. And
It's not a good
everybody's
result.
just going to be sitting there watching, like, man, this is good. It'd be like me deciding I wanted to play in the NFL and putting in my membership.
Entering
and
up.
Yeah. Be like,
Headed to the game next weekend. We got the Dolphins.
Well, let's say there's a kid squirming around the back seat of their parents' car listening to this episode. Where do they go to find that?
FrostLegacy.com.
That's where okay.
Yeah, FrostLegacy.com. You can sign up for our in-person schools. You can sign up for the online school, the elite members. Everything's all in one place now. And you can get on the program. That's what we're doing. That's my full-time job as a bull riding coach.
And that's the goal too. Like I said, we want you to get the online school so you're working at it at the house. We want you on the elite membership so we can work with you while you're at the house, and then we want you to come to an in-person school, and that's the program. All those things go hand in hand, and the people that are using all aspects of it, they're the ones that are winning right now.
They're progressing. They're getting the biggest transformation because they're just like joining the football team. They go to practice more than once a year. There's a lot of them that, back in the days, oh yeah, I went to a Ty Murray school. Well, okay, yeah, what? How far did you make it in the sport? Good job going to that one school, Like, that's not the kids that are having so much success are the ones that are coming to at least 2 schools a year, coming to all the summer practices that I coach them at practice, and then we're going to the jackpot, and they're on the elite membership and they're posting their videos and we're reviewing them and they're watching the videos of how to do the drills at home. They're on the program.
That's what I was going to bring up. You keep mentioning the elite. That's where they send you the videos and you have the program where
They
you
post
can
them in the
actually-
Facebook group. They
Okay.
post them in the Facebook group and we review them right on there.
And can't you draw? Are you still using the app where you draw on it a little bit and
that's a
coach them?
different deal that I do. That's a private thing that I
Oh,
do.
okay.
Yeah.
Which is cool though, because you send these videos in. It's not like a part of your team. It's you guys looking at them and coaching, and that's where it's that personal touch. And they're not hearing from someone that you told to respond. It's you guys looking at and reviewing it, and I think it's transferring bull hopper honourers to bull riders, and I think that's a great thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to go back to a little bit. You was talking about the drop barrel and how it gives repetition of what they can handle. And I remember when I first came over here, we was playing a little bit with my kid and doing, I think a little bit of everything, some tie down, some bulldog and everything. But Josh was doing the tie down, and he was very strict. No, we don't practice fast. We practice right. And then you'll try to do it fast later. You know what I mean? And I was watching him tie down. He was going out there, and obviously he was faster than the kids, but he was slow and steady and perfectly correct. And so we dive into that a little bit on your training and your style of.
Well, and it goes to the calf roping is a lot how I have modeled my bull riding as I was working on getting better at my calf roping. It was actually Tyson Durfee. He's kind of one of my mentors. He had the similar deal we've done with the bull riding. He'd done that with the calf roping. So I was in his No Limits mentorship calf roping program, and he talked about that in his program. He was saying how whenever I'm practicing calf roping, 70% of the time I'm going at 70% speed, which for him 70% speed is perfect. He can, if he can rope a calf in 7 seconds in the practice pen, he's going to rope that calf in 10 seconds. And everything's just slowed down a little bit, and everything's perfect. 7 out of 10 runs, that's how he's doing it. And then 3 times during practice, if he's roping 10 calves, he's going to turn her loose and go see how fast he can be. That relates to bull riding, and up till this point, I learned all this. So the first year I made the NFR was 2019. Well, I bucked off all 10 bulls that year. I practiced harder than I'd ever practiced before. I'd probably got on 45, 50 head of bulls. Well, every time Joe made the NFR, he'd get on jump kickers. He'd go and kick ass at the NFR. So what did I do when I made it? I was like, all right, I'm going to get on jump kickers. I'm going to go kick ass at the NFR. Well, it didn't work for me, because I only ever went at 70%. I never increased my speed to 100%. And so I got to thinking about that when I learned that from Tyson on my calf roping practice, about practicing perfect and then pushing yourself a little bit. So the next year I went and bought me 1 or 2 bulls that were a little bit, they weren't NFR caliber bulls, but they dang sure bucked a little bit. They were a lot closer to what I was going to be getting on at the finals. And
Up the game a little bit.
up the game. It was one of those ones where if you don't do it right, they're going to pile you up. Whereas the first year I made it, like those bulls, regardless of my technique, I made the whistle 50 out of 50 times.
Yeah.
Well, that was this. So that year I got on 10 of those jump kickers. 11th bull I got on was that bucker. He piled me up. What did I do? I went back and I got on my 7, 8 jump kickers. Got on that bull. That time I rode him 5 seconds. Went back, got on my jump kickers. Third time I got on him, I freaking 88, 89 points in the practice pen. Rolled into the NFR that year, rode 7 out of 10, won the average, reserve world champion.
Yes.
And we've kind of modeled that, our teaching, and if you're not making, and we even shoot higher, especially you need to be making the whistle 80% of the time, and because the goal is to obviously learn the technique. You can make the whistle without the tech. Just because you make the whistle doesn't mean you're doing it right. And that's where
We call that surviving.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've all seen the guy hanging off the side of the bull going 190 miles an hour on the side, and he makes the whistle and he gets a score and he gets a check, and that's surviving. But obviously, you want a little technique
and there's
go a long ways.
so much in the sport of bull riding. It's been said, it's the stupidest saying ever, but it's in order to ride buckers, you got to get on buckers. And I think the stock contractors started this saying so that they could get their bulls bucked in the practice pen. But it's because so that's what so many people do. They're going and they're just getting on 22 pointers in the practice pen. And they're not ever making the whistle, and then they're never winning, and it's a vicious cycle where nothing ever comes out on top. Whereas the way, we talked about the building the foundation or the 70%, the faster you get in calf roping, the faster your 70% speed is. Bull riding is the same way. The better you get at riding bulls, the better your 70% speed's going to be. And so when I first started this, like if I was struggling on the road, I'd have to come home and legitimately get on a high school 18, 19 point jump kicker to even feel like I could stay on. Now my 70% speed is an 85 point bull. And I kind of learned this from watching one of the greatest bull riders going right now is Jose Vitor Lemi. He posts a video, this was like 2021, of him in the practice pen. He's out there in his tennis shoes. He bucks this bull by himself, gets on in his tennis shoes with the phone taped to the fence, opens the gate, spurs him in his tennis shoes, and he probably would have been 87 points at a rodeo. But that was his 70% speed, because through the course of building his fundamentals and confidence, that's what he can slow it down on, is something that most guys couldn't even make the whistle on. And so through the course of my career, that's where I've tried to get my technique so good and have that ability to where now all of a sudden my 70% speed is an 85, 86 point bull. And I think through if you're continually working to get better, that level should always be rising to where, someday hopefully you could just be getting on a 90 pointer in the practice pen, oh yeah, feeling good now.
Kicking a hole in the side of him.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. We talked about it earlier about that's the same as the dogs. You're always just going that little bit more and trying to get that 70%. That's a great way to look at it.
Well, and you take, we talked about that too. You go up to the 40 and, okay, so you're missing some stuff. So you come back to the 16 with intention. It's just like Josh, so that bull bucks you off in 2 seconds. Now you come back to those jump kickers, that lower level, with some intention of things you need to do to get better versus, okay, the way I was riding them before was I was just surviving them. Now I need to dominate them, and here's what I need to do.
Yeah.
And then you get on him again, and it's a little better, and then you come back with more intention, and you go again. So it creates, you're now training versus just practicing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. With the mental thing too, it's you'll just train your brain to go back, and it seems like you said earlier you're training your brain to control your body, and that's what you do with the dogs or any animal, anything you're trying to train. It's very similar.
I really like it. Everything you talk about, having conversations with Joe all the time. It's just training. It doesn't matter if you're training dogs or you're raising your children or you're trying to train your wife to be correct and good wife.
That is not the case. The one anomaly. That is not.
Maybe you just need some better training.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm in the training program in that department. But you got your bull riding, your kids, and everything else. It's amazing how much training is training, and it's the same. It's literally the same technique all the way through. But shoot, I had a question and I flubbed it.
But
so
I'll go back to you mentioned Tyson Durfee, and crazily enough, I know his wife and his father-in-law were pretty good friends, and I talked to Eddie, which is Tyson's father-in-law, a fair bit, and he's crazy. I'm pretty sure. He loved the guy. He's a great guy. You can't get him to sit still, but he was a fanatic in training and everything like that. And Shay, I don't know if you knew this, she rode bulls until she was 18 years old. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
You got to check it out next time you're seeing it. She's no slouch. She's pretty good. So, Eddie was great. And so I'm Tyson's pretty much current online electrician, which I should start a program for that, I guess.
FaceTime me any point of the day, and I'll tell you how to
it's
fix
$1 a minute, I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
I'll be like one of them cool girls. But we hope to have him on there and on here as well. I'm hoping he can't say no because I have his father-in-law.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, that's crazy that you it's a small world that. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but I get it.
That we live in?
Yeah, that we live in. There we go. Thanks, Joe, for the cover. So when you guys are doing your schools, when you didn't have no bullfighters and stuff like that back in the day, these days, who's the bullfighter? Do the kids get on that sort of stock, or you kind of?
It's Jade.
Jay.
Jay,
If
our
Jade's
brother
not
Jade.
home, Jade's the greatest bullfighter we've ever raised in this family. Dad, Joe, me, we're on the fence throwing a hat, open your hand, run. I don't know where Jake got it from, but
He's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
He does it by himself. You know, he does. At some of our bigger schools, like we got a PBR school coming up here. It'll be the first level 3 school we've done with only pro guys. But I hire in a couple of guys to come fight, and then Jade will be the backup. He'll help them if they need it. But at most of our schools, you know, we're rarely bucking stuff that needs protection.
And in general, our philosophy, like because we never had bullfighters, we never had mean bulls. That was Dad's one rule. If we went to the cell, it couldn't be mean. And through the course of our practice bull career, like we always looked for the bull that bucked good and then stopped and walked out of the arena. We were very, very successful with that for a long time. We've had one or two which it was my dad would use. We had a bullfighting dog. Called this a bull Old Western, one of the best practice bulls we ever had. But he would get you a little bit, but he would rather hook the dog than a human. So Dad would hold the dog on the leash, and when Dad would blow the whistle, he'd let the dog go. You'd jump off, bull would be hooking the dog instead of you. And through the course of that, Jadis pretty quick turned into a bullfighter, and because of that, all of a sudden we've started getting some meaner bulls around because we know we've got Jay out there to save us. So.
Yeah, because I guess the goal is for these people up and coming learners is not to get smoked.
Well, and that's the part of what but me, Joe, Jay, probably get on more practice bulls than probably anybody. You know, you add up the number we've been on, and the reason we've been able to do that is because of the proper practice stock. If it's bull riding's dangerous enough at the rodeo and so you hate to come home trying to slow something down and get mucked out. Like it's hard enough to stay on them without worrying about them trying to run you over and break your legs after you get off of them. And
to take you out of it. Got to stay healthy. I guess that's the hardest part for you, and that's why you're home right now. Actually, is you're unhealthy, is what Chance was telling me earlier.
Yep,
Recovering from some kind of injury.
Yep, I tore my shoulder pretty good in August. Did a bunch of physical therapy and got her feeling as good as you could with a torn shoulder for Vegas. It still would, if it ever lifted above my shoulder, it was dislocating. And we got through 10 bulls in Vegas and won the world. And 4 days later, I was at the doctor getting my shoulder stapled back together. So.
Yeah, that's some mental toughness. Again, with the training the brain to get through that. And knowing that's got to be an inkling always on you. Maybe it's feeling okay, but like you said, if it comes over and you're dislocating, you've got a constant worry there. So mentally strong, how do you prep for that to be that?
You talked about, we prepped our whole life for it. That's the one thing you could give our dad was he built mental toughness. We, like I said, we got videos of me in the practice pen getting bucked. Not only did I get bucked off, there was a dirt clod that came through flying through the air that whacked me in the head afterwards too. And one of the, like I said, I tell this story all the time, but the best bull riding advice my dad had ever gave me when I was probably 7th grade, and he went and bought me this Coriani bull. I got on him at the rodeo a couple weekends earlier, and he bucked me off, and we called him Heartbreaker, hauled him home, and first day I get on him, he comes out there, turns back, and I fall off pretty quick. Well, he comes by and kind of just bunts me right in the butt, like didn't even hurt. Well, I'm crying. I start screaming, acting like my legs are broken. Dad walks over there, and he literally grabs me, and he picks me up, and he throws me against the panel. He said, if you're going to be a bull rider, you got to pretend that these bulls are going to break every bone in your body, and you're going to get up and you're going to walk out of the arena because you're Iron Man. And if you can't think like that, you need to quit today. And I haven't been scared to get on a bull since that day. Like, I flipped the switch that day, and that's the mindset I've had my whole career. And that's the mental toughness. And to be a bull rider, you've got to have that because, and I guess you don't, to be a world champion, you've got to have that.
Yeah, 100%.
There's a lot of bull riders that don't have that still have success, but that's one of the deals, and Joe had it, our little brother has it. Like, it is a dangerous sport, but that's how I compartmentalized it was, I don't care, go ahead and break my leg. I'm going to get up and walk out of this arena.
Yeah, it's famous just to name drop 8 seconds a little bit there. It's not when you get hurt; it's how
Yeah.
bad kind of deal. So you got to be ready to push through that. And
Yeah, but you're going to get on and nod your head anyway. So what kind of mentality are you going to have?
yeah,
Right.
yep, exactly. And talking about injuries and stuff, when they say Joe retired, that wasn't. You're at a peak. I was following you back in the day when you were riding.
It was only 27.
Yeah, and it was a short thing, and I think you would have shot straight through to world champion very, very quickly. Can you tell us a little bit, what forced you? You didn't retire on your own; you were
Well,
forced.
what a lot of people don't know was he knew that I was already getting really good. I was pretty sure I was about to surpass him.
Figured I better
Get out.
Get out while he was ahead.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot more sense then, and that makes sense in the dog world too. Because I noticed I come on the scene, he's like, "I'm out of this deal."
It's all coming together.
Yeah, okay, I'm all right. I see what's happening here.
No, so actually, blood clots is what it was, and I got the first one when I was a sophomore in high school. I got stepped on by a bull on my back of my thigh, and
Note for all the listeners, you can't work out a blood clot. That was Dad's plan when Joe's leg swelled up. He spent about 5 hours out there digging out a catalog.
I was all
loosening
day
it
to
up.
dig them both out.
And pretty quick, Joe's like, it ain't getting better. His leg was swelled up. He's getting short of breath. And
My whole left leg was as big as a basketball.
Oh, goodness.
And we went in on Monday to see the orthopedic surgeon because he'd worked on the sports medicine team, so we trusted him. And so anyway, he says, I don't know, but this kind of looks like a blood clot. Oh, shit. I don't know nothing about blood clots, but they have the commercials on TV that
80-year-old
scare ya.
women get.
Yeah, and so we go down there, and sure enough, but it was an injured vein, and it had clotted. Anyway, so I go on the blood thinner, 6 months, come back, it's all fine. Well, 8 years later, I get stepped on, almost identical bruise on my right leg, and that was
was that a different leg?
semifinal, different the other leg. It was the other leg at Houston in the semifinals, and I went to Mercedes, rode down there, come back to Houston. It was it was sore bad, and I think I rode my bull in the 8-man round, and but I got bucked off in the 10-man round, and then I went and rode at Austin, and then I had a few days off before Austin's semifinals, and I was staying with Kylie there in Weatherford. And I started feeling it's a weird sickness, like it's a weird sick feeling that you get when you have them. And I had it 8 years before, and I knew it. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure this leg's clotting up. So I ended up just turning out of Austin and drove home. Sure enough, well, that time I caught it early, so it only ended up being 3 months on blood thinners till it cleared out. And then I went on. They told me at that point in time, they said, anytime for any reason, if you've had 2 blood clots, we put you on lifetime blood thinners. Well, the problem with the blood thinners and bull riding is you're at a high risk for internal bleeding. Like they don't,
Stuff that wouldn't mess you or me up, Joe would bleed out. Even just getting hit in the head, bounce up.
Could kill you.
He's going to be over there.
And so, but I'm like, yeah, this deal, it's just coincidental. They're both injuries, but they're like, no, like it gets, and you get more prone to them. Like it's just like that 60-year-old or 70-year-old.
Overheating a dog.
Yeah.
Overheat a dog, it's get more prone to
Get more prone. So anyway, thought nothing. I kind of was like, okay, I better pay attention. So I bought all of the compression stockings they had and make sure and wear those on a plane, whatever. Well, then when I broke my leg the second time, so the first time I had surgery on it. They put a rod in. When I broke it the second time, it just spiraled around that rod. Well, it was so sore from my knee to my ankle, I couldn't even wiggle my toes for about 10 days. Well, and all of a sudden, the back of my knee starts getting tight. And I'm like, gosh, damn it. Like, that's the blood clot thing. My back of my knee would get really, really tight and go in. Well, I'm clotted up from, like, mid-thigh clear down to my ankle. And all that happened there was lack of movement. So this one was worse. It wasn't like I had a bruise that had like injured the vein. Anyway, went and seen a specialist that works with sports people, and basically the only option I had to keep riding was, because I'm at a high risk for clotting now, is I could do intermittent dosages. So I would take blood thinners on Monday, Tuesday, then I would and Wednesday, and then I'd fly to the bull riding on Wednesday, and I had to be there for 48 hours don't take them, stay active, and then ride bulls for 2 or 3 days, and then get on the blood thinners, wait 24 hours, then I could get on an airplane and travel. So, you know, with a wife, Kylie was pregnant with Luella at the time, and I'd had a decent career, and
Great
so
career.
It was at a point where it was like, okay, I can go train dogs now.
Yeah, and try to, yeah. No, until I put you out of that industry.
Yeah.
But I did, your mental toughness and your energy and everything you do, like you're a real happy-go-getter guy. I'm sure after that, it was probably a little bit missing it and wanting to be there with your buddies.
It was one of them things where I didn't really deal with it. It was, Chance was there with me. I remember Chance was one of the first people that I told, just because they had, the doctor had called or whatever. It might have been over there to work dogs with him after I'd went and seen him. But it was really hard for me. I mean, hell, for 20 years is the only thing I thought about. And I knew I had to make a living for my family. And so I didn't think about it. I didn't talk about it. I just started working dogs. I poured myself into that, and
the ranch and working dogs and
but
taking outside dogs and making money other
I
ways.
just focused on that, and I never really dealt with it for several years, and I finally realized how much it affected me, and it was hard.
Yeah,
Really hard.
I bet. And that's the cowboy mentality. A lot of the things like, well, bad shit happens. I just got to get going and keep on through them. But it does affect people and that sort of thing because you loved it. And I'm glad now you've found this new avenue to keep loving bull riding and you've got a love for it. So that's, I think why this works out so
The
great.
coaching side of it, I mean, shoot, it's easy for me to say this now because it's where I'm at, but I love it as much or more than I ever loved riding them.
Yep.
It gives me a thrill. It gets me out of bed in the morning, and it's something I actually have to shut it off so I can actually do other things because I'm ate up with it.
Good. Yeah, that's great. So that's awesome. Good for you. I wanted to see what it was like after the fact of what you had to go through that. So that's cool.
Well, and I know at one point Josh entered a couple dog trials and was a little successful and tried to push Joe out of that industry also.
Yeah, I kind of so that was back when Joe. The whole deal is completely
Now he borrows
his
your
fault.
dog, right?
He does. When Joe first started getting into dogs, he was taking every free dog.
This was your deal to start.
We started dogs. We run our cattle up in this brush, Russian olive trees, and that. Every year there'd be 2 or 3 of them old girls that'd learn to run in those trees, and we'd be 3 weeks trying to get them gathered. And finally, I'm like, we need to get a dog sitting in those trees, get these out.
No, you said, you know what you need? You need to get you a good cow dog.
Well, I wanted to, but I was, knew you were better at it probably.
You had a world championship to win, so you're like, all right, you have some time, Joe.
so that's how it all started. So he gets him a Kelpie, and in the process of this, he's training his Kelpie, and then we're getting free dogs. He's getting free dogs. Well, I'm like, shoot, I think that was fall of 19. Maybe
that was Braxton getting free dogs. When did
you get Ringo? Was it 18? Maybe you might have got
him
Ringo
in 19.
Early 19.
Early
maybe?
19.
And so we're thinking free dogs are great. So I get a free dog spring of 2020. At this point, by that point, Joe's getting a lot more serious, realizing that a lot of these free dogs aren't.
There's a reason they're free.
There's a reason they're free. Well, I'm stuck with my free dog, and I'm only running one dog, and I kind of want a cow dog, but I also kind of want a pet. So through the course of that, I get my pet dog. She hates Joe. I tried to come over here and train her. She's super temp. You put any pressure on her, she's over there curled up in the corner.
Very low prey drive.
Through the course of this, I'm off rodeoing, and I taught her to load up, and she knew her name.
7 weeks old.
Yeah, she's got one of the best load ups you've ever seen of any dog. But I wanted Joe to put some specifically just Joe to put some training on her. So Joe came. Well, he was hosting his first dog trial, and he really wanted me to enter. I'm like, I'll make you a deal. If you put, what'd you put, 7 days on her? Joe put 7 days on her. I came home from my rodeo escapades, hadn't even worked her once, head off to this, my first
He doesn't
experience.
even know the commands.
No, I still don't know what come by and away mean. I use them on her every day, but it just I kind of wave my hands in the air and yell one, and she'll go the opposite direction of whichever direction she's going.
Yeah.
But go to the dog trial. I think I had the fastest fetch time. And then what I would do was she's scared of the head. She don't go to the head at all. But she would lay down. Luckily, the cattle were relatively broke, so I would lay her down where the cattle needed to turn, and then I would walk around the cattle, and she'd turn them through the obstacles. Shoot, I got through 6 of the 7 obstacles, and I think I won 4th out of like 25 people.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Which was, I felt bad because these people had been training.
They're trying to win this.
And it's crazy, you know, like when we had that kind of success, it motivated us. But that was the last one he ever had.
No, I was.
He was top of the world right
I got
there.
a
That was good.
picture from the experience, and she does everything I want. She brings my rope calves up, and then she loves bucking. She's as passionate about bucking bulls as anybody in the Frost family being is.
Yeah, so I live a quarter mile from my mom and dad, and then you're a mile away. But if we're bucking,
She loves roping, but she loves bucking more. And we'll be out.
She's a roughie, not a
roping
timey.
at a quarter mile from here. And if Joe's bucking, this is me. Probably need to tighten my sanction on her. Pretty quick, I'll look and where the heck did Bean go? And she'll be show up.
she'll show up.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
That's
And
So-
I use her for them Holstein calves for the 6 to 8 year old group. About halfway through the summer, them kids get to riding pretty good, and the calves quit bucking. So, incoming Bean, and now Bean just bites them on the heels the whole way and keeps them going.
1,000 dogs through here, and he's yet to be able to train one as good as I've got Bean.
She showed up with that. She runs straight to the ass.
I see there's a bit of a thing here, though. So she's like the mascot. Joe's got some high-powered, really broke dogs, but Bean seems to be really helping the Frost Legacy Rodeo School.
Bean actually does a job.
Yeah, she has real work to
When
do.
Bean comes out, she does what she's supposed to.
I think
Joe
that's,
brings his dogs out. All of a sudden, they're not as trained as well as he thinks.
there's
they are.
excuses coming out.
The cows are running the wrong direction. He's yelling, "You piece of shit!" And going, "What does that command mean?"
I think we said at the beginning of this podcast we was going to be nice to Joe.
I said definitely not.
Never take your not finished dog
You
out.
bought this one. It was Cap.
He was supposed No, it wasn't. Remember, it was that Hank's son that was a steer. The one that they cut.
The one that didn't have
Yeah, we bought this dog. He was supposed to be more finished than what he was. All right,
which had nothing to do with me.
it had nothing to do with you.
It's funny.
Shoot.
Oh, goodness.
That's funny stuff.
So Bean's the hero of the Frost Legacy
Bean's-
is what you really
yeah,
trying
she
to
is.
say.
Everybody loves her. They're like, she's so well trained.
And I just laugh at it because I know, like, I'm sorry, if she was actually in the Frost Stockdogs program, she probably would have. She would have been a coal at it. Like, he was telling me, he's like, you need to get rid of her. Like, I brought her over as a pup. We stock tested her, but the thing is, she don't have a prey drive, but she's super passionate about she loves me. So if I hype her up, she does it. Like,
Oh yeah, she'll run in and try for if you got this Bean, go get him.
Yeah.
Boy, I mean, okay, she runs right.
she runs in and then she comes running back like, how'd I do?
Oh,
Awesome.
good, do it again.
Yeah, that is cool. But the craziest thing, I would have liked to have been sitting next to Joe when you sent her and she got the fastest fetch time.
It was the fastest fetch time in the novice.
Oh, yes. He's talking down on Bean, but I think he would have been like, oh, crap, I'm out of this industry too.
Would you like to know how? Would you like to know how he did it so fast? He downed her by the gate and he went and got the cattle.
No,
That's
no,
teamwork.
She fetches. It's literally what which granted she's a little bit, comes in a little hot. It's the only time I really like to get on her is she'll about run the rope calves through the fence, gathering them. So that's her main job is calves are.
She lacks rate.
She get around him. And she gets around him. Well, it was a blind fetch. get around them. And she got around them and she brought them. I mean, they were cooking when they came off that hill.
It was a good thing it wasn't a judged event.
Hey, Josh,
Well,
there is a quote. You only get hate from people that are below you.
Hey, though, you know what though? Like, Josh is the one person in my family that, like, I mean, just so you know, like, it made me so happy that you came and entered that trial with me. Like, I enjoyed that.
Yep.
Yeah, that would have been a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. He set cattle for us all day. It was it was a really good time. The thing I like about Bean's story is that a lot of people get stuck on this dog or this breed or that breed, and it really is 90% of the time the connection you have with that dog, and that dog has this purpose, and this dog over here has this purpose. Bean could never do what JJ and Butch do, but yet JJ and Butch don't have what Bean has, and that ability to stay off the nose and get in there and get them heels and help them bucking calves and not be so serious about the job that it actually is a very, very positive technique that the dogs use.
No, yeah.
Very
in
useful.
hindsight, like, you had a litter of puppies out of her and Cowboy. I literally should have said, "Hey, I'll take the whole litter for $1,000."
And see if I can.
And
get
I would
me a
have tried to
bucking
make
dog.
sure I got one of them that worked just right for my deal.
Yep. Yep.
If I could go back, I would have done that, because then he went and got her fixed.
Oh, okay. You fixed she sounds like a prime dog. You're going to have to find another one.
My wife. The problem is my wife's. We got rid of the puppies, but she gets very attached, and so we did it once. We kept one of the puppies, and then we got her fixed so that we weren't.
Joe and Chance do that all the time. They keep all their puppies. So I mean, it's a thing.
It's a thing. You get attached.
Yep. I have a question. This one's for both of you. Answer separately, but what was the most memorable ride in your guys' career each, and what made it unforgettable?
My most memorable one would have to be 2021. I went and there's a bull called Chiseled. I think he won the Bull of the Year in the PRCA and was second in the PBR 2 or 3 times. And I'd been on him. I drew him at Bellefouche over the 4th of July, and he bucked me off. And, like, at this point in time, like, this was the rankest bull going. Also, bull turned back to the right. I've struggled with bulls away from my hand primarily most of my career. I've always been working on getting better at it. And so I'd been on him. He bucked me off. Well, it was August. We were doubled up at Sykeston, Missouri, Lawton, Oklahoma. Draw comes out for Sykeston. I got the best bull at Sykeston. Big red bull in the gate, B90 points on him every single time. Turned back into my hand, which naturally easier for me. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, we're every now and then you'll get doubled up, and then you just see which rodeo you got the best bull at, and that's the rodeo you go to. Well, 30 minutes later, Lawton's draw comes out, and I got Chiseled. And I'm like, holy cow, like, obviously Chiseled's the ranker bull, but there's a little bit of, like, I wasn't super confident at the time that was struggling, didn't ride bulls good away from my hand. He'd bucked me off before, and I was like, what do I do? Like, my instinct was to go get on the Red Bull and Sykeston because it was going to be easier in my comfort zone, and it was my traveling partner at the time was Sage Kimsey, and she's like, what do you think I should do? And he said, I'll just be honest with you. He said, what are you going to tell your grandkids about the time you rode Soy El Fuego or the time you rode Chiseled? I'm like,
that's awesome.
Hell yeah, that's right. And I rolled in there freaking 92.5 points on Chiseled. And
Wow.
If you don't get chills hearing that story, there's something wrong with you. That is cool. That's awesome. That's a winner's attitude.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
I figured that was the one you was going to tell.
It's Big Brother in your right now.
No, it is a good because
It is. It gives you chills. It does.
that was good.
That's a legend creating moment.
Well, there's those types of bulls like Soy El Fuego that everybody rides.
yeah.
And
then he was still like, he was a 90 point. Like, I would have won first at either rodeo. Like, I was going to be 90 at Sykeston, possibly higher over there.
Yep.
But it was, and I would say that was one of the first real, like, you know, you talk about being a world champion. Like, this was the point that I was believing it and seeing it. It's like, the world champion's going to go ride Chiseled. Like,
Well, like you talked about, push yourself to that outer limit, and then check, see what you got. What was more likely to be a world champion? The guy that freaking checked himself to see where he was at, or the guy that took the safe road and was going to go get a check?
Shout out to Sage for pushing. That's good to surround yourself with people that believe in you. Like, he wouldn't have sent you that direction if he didn't think you could do it. So that's a shout out to him.
For me, I mean, probably crossed the Wyoming line, just because that was a bull that had bucked all the top guys off, including me. They say he was unridden, but Cody Lostro actually rode him at the PBR when he was like a 3-year-old for like 83. But then the next year he got better, and he went unridden from 13, 14, 15, and then half of 16. He was the PRCA Bull of the Year in 2014, and had bucked all the top guys off and everybody else. And I was the first one to ride him there. And I actually, like, it was at a point where, like, he was one that I had been wanting to draw, because I was pretty sure I could ride him. I was a lot better at that point than I was when I got on him in 2013. But I was 90 points, and it was just one of them deals when, like, you knew you had the bull rode before you got on him. In fact, I was purposefully, I'm a little more superstitious than Josh, but, like, I would call the stock contractor and find out which night the bull was going to be. He was going to buck him, and then I'd purposefully interrupt that,
to try to
increase the
it.
odds of drawing
Yeah.
that sucker, and I had done that there, and it worked out where I got him was last out, and rode him like the way you want to ride him,
And last out, that's got to be
dead easy, and stepped off on my feet, and that was just made him look dumb. That's what I like doing.
Yeah,
I'm in a competition with the bull, and I want to ride the rankest bull I can, and make him look like it was a day off.
Yep, and that's that cool thing what you said before. But there's knowing, thinking, and then hoping.
Yeah,
and you knew. So that's awesome. That. Which I think being last out, it just pumps you up when you're there at the rodeo. Everyone's into it more, coming out the world champion, hopping on last. That's a cool.
Yeah.
That's got to be a cool feeling.
We're getting pretty close on our timeline. What do you? I'm
I
sure
thought
you
you
got
had
a couple of questions you want to
I
ask
thought you
them.
had some embarrassing ones to make them squirm a little bit, like see them a little uncomfortable. They're comfortable hopping on bulls. I think they should be comfortable enough answering some squirmy questions. You chicken chance.
I don't know what you're talking about there, Ozzy.
Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, I got some questions. Joe's answered a lot of them in the previous episode, so I'm going to hit you with them. Name 3 people you'd like to have dinner with, dead or alive.
Joe kind of got me on this. I was over.
You can use the same ones.
But 2 of them are the same. My granddad and Lane Frost both would be really, both people that passed away before I was born that I've never got to meet. And then I'm going to, I was prepared for this, and now I'm going to go blank on the next one, but I would say, I'll say Donald Trump.
Okay,
Perfect.
perfect.
President.
Yeah, that'd be super cool.
I am going to go ahead and give my third one now that I've had time to think about it. I'd just have dinner with my wife.
Oh, very smooth. That's a shout out to the ladies at home.
Yeah,
That
brownie
mustache,
points, brownie
that
points.
mustache.
I married her for a reason.
Yeah, and she's been regretting it ever since, I'm sure.
I would
with
like
her.
to strike mine and put Erica.
No, have fun with Donald.
Yeah,
Joe
she
has
heard
to
Donald
say that
Trump.
because he never gets to take his wife to dinner.
Oh yeah, that's
I
fair.
have dinner with mine every night.
That's fair. That is nice. That
He
is
did
nice.
just come off a 6-week venture in Texas without
Yeah.
seeing her. So
Yep, that is fair. And I'm going to add a little 4th person in there for you guys. I'll come to dinner with you guys too because I like all the choices.
Perfect.
Yeah, so Travis Bolt's on that list. If you could have a bull over again, who would it be and why?
I would say riding solo. I've actually been on him twice. Rode him the first time for 92 3/4. He bucked me off the second time, and he's one of them ones that's one of the rankest bulls in the world. He's getting a little age on him now, and so he's probably would be a little bit easier to ride. But I wouldn't mind being up on him 2 to 3 instead of being tied at 1 and 1.
Yeah, which is cool that you go like the professional bull riders. They hold a little vendetta against these bulls,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they respect them too. And I think that's there's a lot of respect that goes into that because they're athletes as well.
Oh, yeah.
And it's cool that you guys kind of fight each other a little
Yeah.
bit there, back and forth. And that one's for you too, Joe. For if you could go back and have another one, what would it be?
Oh, if I could have him again, it probably would have been Long John. When I got on him, it was one of them deals where I was good enough to ride him, but mentally I didn't know if I was. I didn't believe in myself enough, and I rode him hanging off the side for like 2 or 3 jumps, and remember looking up at the middle thinking, boy, I bet he'd feel better up there. But I was capable of being more
Yep.
in that moment, and I
So you survived him, but you
no,
weren't-
I know I didn't survive.
Oh, no, okay.
No, I didn't make the whistle, but I could do it.
Yep.
I know that I could have done it had I believed in myself more.
Yep, and had Frost legacy back, and
Yeah.
but you
Yeah.
know now, so that is cool. And if you could go back in time and tell your younger self something, what would it be?
Get to work. I thought I worked hard when I was younger, and now I'm doing 10 times as much as I was then. Like it's a little bit like it's hard as a bull rider because there's been a way it's been done forever of just kind of the JB Mooney, drink beer, have fun, ride bulls.
Yep.
And that is the lifestyle, and I wouldn't say I was real reckless with it at a young age, but I guess I didn't really appreciate it, and I took it for granted. I was winning, but I also wasn't winning as much as I should have been, and it came with a point when I graduated college, hadn't made the NFR yet, and it came to the point of me getting a real job or being a bull rider. When I actually had a real job for a little bit, and I was like, man, what if I started working at my bull riding? We talk about the football team, going to practice every day. Like I wasn't even doing that, and I started working at my bull riding like a full-time job, waking up every day like, what can I do today to be a better bull rider? And spending 40 hours a week training bull riding, and I'll be dang if I didn't start winning a whole bunch more.
Yep,
And I think that's it's amazing how much that translates. It doesn't matter. I don't care who you are. Almost every person, you look back when you were 19 and you thought you were trying hard and you weren't even trying. You know what I mean? I think that's true for everybody.
I roll it back to 13, like when if I had started putting that, and it's harder when you're a kid, and I'd heard what Joe had said earlier about like opening his horizons and believing he can do more, but like that's a little bit goes with it, but like and that's why we have to talk about the program with Frost Legacy. Like I didn't have a program when I was 13 years old. Like there's a little bit of you need to be hungry and crave it at that age, but there's also like you're a kid, and there needs to be like, hey, we signed up for this program. You need to ride your drop barrel 5 times a week, and here like that goes a long ways before you turn 18. And I had to figure all that stuff out from 18 to 22, and all of a sudden I'm like, I was making money riding bulls, but I wasn't like, I couldn't have supported a family. Like for a single kid that didn't have any bills, like I had some money in the bank and I was traveling from town to town having fun, but it wasn't not what you could make a career of. And it was, like I said, it took from that was 2018, and that was when I really started working hard at it. Was fall of 2018, and I was already had quote unquote worked hard for years, but like took it to a next level right there, and made the NFR and whole nother level from there. And
well, for all those rodeo kids out there right now, 19 years old and in that range that are out there trying to do that, what do you do different now than what you did at 19, 20 years old? I know you exercise and diet and a lot more serious stuff now, right?
Oh yeah, just all all of it. I'll kind of call it my pyramid. You got your technical, your physical, and your mental. And through the course of my, I would never work on all 3 of them at the same time. I'd be like, I need to get on more practice bulls, and I'd do that for a couple of months, and I'd always get a little better, and then I need to get stronger, so I'd work out for a couple of months. But while I was doing that, I wasn't getting on the practice bulls. Then I was like, my mental game's weak. And so I'd go to reading every mental training book there was. But while I was doing that, I wasn't practicing anymore or working out. And when I started really working on, like waking up every day and working on my mental game, my technical and my physical, was when all of a sudden I went from just being a top 50 bull rider to being a top 15, and through the course of honing that in, now we're the world champion.
Yeah, and that is something that's awesome. And there's no excuses for these young guys now. It is how it was done back in the day doesn't mean how it has to be done now. And you've set up a program that you can go from being an average bull hopper honorer to bull rider and catapult yourself into making it where you support a living. So definitely contact these guys.
It's no longer just you just get on and figure it out. We can tell you exactly what you need to do
to figure it out,
and we'll help you figure it out.
There's no better
we'll
time
actually
in the world
coach
to
you.
be a bull rider.
Yep.
Like, whether you're PBR, PRCA, amateur, like if you can make the whistle, you can make so much money because the bulls buck hard and nobody can do it. Like there's two or three guys in the world right now that are riding 60% of their bulls, and they're making 500,000+ a year.
Yeah, and that's what's great about you guys, because you're not getting it from your uncle or some wannabe bull rider and giving your advice. I think that's more hurtful than you can spend the money and it's an investment. You're paying for your future, and that's why you should come to these guys and learn from the best. To be the best, that's what you got to be to do. Favorite thing to do when you have off time for both of you?
Just ranching, being home with the family. I'm full-time bull rider, but we run a bunch of cows, and like I said, I hate to say it's a hobby because it is work, but I love it. Like that's the dream, is to win enough money riding bulls that when I get done that I can do what my dad did growing up, running a bunch of cows, and be able to be home every day with my kids. And through the course of the family ranch that my dad's running, that we help with, and what me and Joe have got going on with our cows, like I said, I'm putting in a hay field right now. Like I said, that's I guess my happy time is being home and doing stuff with the family, out, moving cows, sorting cows, putting up hay. Like that's what makes me happy.
Heck yeah.
Kind of like when you're a little kid, you play with the tractors and all the toys. We just do the same thing, it's just
bigger and more wild. And
a lot more water when you hit pipelines.
Well, that's it. That's the part of it. If you're not having there's not a wreck on the ranch, then
you're not doing it right.
You're not ranching.
No.
And in the words of Dale Brisby, it's just light ranching if you're not having any wrecks. But do you have a quote or a joke that you like to use, either or?
Yeah, this one's kind of gotten pretty famous around the Frost Legacy schools, but it's a lot of times when you get hurt or something, kids are always, needing something to make them feel better. We always just give them some Triactin. Fixes them right away.
Chance is going to need some of that Triactin when he's on that Frost Legacy drop barrel.
And for
I'm
those
excited.
of you that don't know what that is, it's Triactin like a man. It goes a long way. It fixes everything.
A lot of them. You got any?
I don't know what that is, but I'd love some. You say that, and I'll be dang if they don't tough it right up.
We're going to need about 10 cc of that for Chance.
Yeah.
And we will have a video to post online.
You talk a lot of dumb shit, but you think what's going to happen. It might not happen. Nothing.
Someone's hopping on that thing.
Yeah, I know it.
Well, thank you, the Frost Brothers. I really appreciate it. And again, for the people that have been listening and they missed the first part, how do they get in contact? Where do they go to get the best tips from the best?
FrostLegacy.com.
FrostLegacy.com, and follow both of us on social media. There's Josh Frost 16. That's my Instagram, and Joe Frost on Instagram. Also, Frost Legacy page. We post all sorts of content.
Facebook and Instagram.
Instagram. We're on TikTok.
Guess we're on TikTok too, kind of.
We're bull riding coaches and part-time social media influencers.
Yep, I think that's what kind of where it's at nowadays. It's freaking the way to do it.
And we're going to follow along, and I hope to see you backing it up and defending your title. I'll be cheering you on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks guys.
You can catch all our episodes of Stock Dogs Unleashed on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Don't miss an episode. Hit that follow button. Without you guys showing your support, we can't keep growing. So join us every week for insights, laughs, and all things ranch life. But seriously, hit that follow button.